Welcome to another edition of Journey of Hope. Stories of people who have not only been survivors, but thrivers as they've encountered different circumstances in their life. Life itself is a journey with ups and downs and twists and turns and many unexpected circumstances. Nearly 38% of our young people, our teens, are involved in some type of behavior that's self-injury. Our special guests today are going to tell us about an amazing journey that goes on with many of our young people. Our special guest today is Susan Hagerman, who works down at the BMC, our Behavior Medical Center, and is the manager and the developer of a very exciting program to help young people. And our other special guest is Danille from Arrowhead, and a student and a survivor. And we're going to learn about the exciting journey that she's been on. But just as we get started, Susan and Danille, it's good to have you here on Journey of Hope. And Susan, tell us a little bit about the program that you've started, and we're going to have Danille introduce herself. But go ahead and tell us a little bit about the program.
Okay, well, it's an outpatient program that was a blessing for the BMC because it's provided by a generous grant from Riverside Community Health Foundation and Utah Health of Los Angeles. And together, they were able to give us over $800,000 to start a program that's unique in Southern California. Absolutely nothing like it in the Inland Empire. Very few in Southern California. And it's a program that treats adolescents who self-injure, and from the ages of 13 to 18. And the unique part for us is that it provides treatment with a treatment focus called dialectical behavior therapy that was developed for adults who often would attempt suicide or self-injure. And then the East Coast and the Northwest started using it for teenagers. And this gives the teenagers a way of learning skills so they no longer have to use self-injury as a way of coping. So we have been just so blessed because this program provides free treatment for many of the teenagers in Southern California, and especially in the Inland Empire.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that, and I understand it's a growing program. But Danille, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you're in school, you're a student, but tell us a little bit about yourself and what's been happening.
Well, I started self-injuring years ago, and at first it just started out as an easy way to cope with my emotions and what was bothering me. I used to cut, and just every cut would make all the pain temporarily go away. And even though it's causing yourself pain, it seems to help the emotional pain because it releases endorphins in the brain, and that makes you happy.
Okay, so we're really talking about a self-injury type of a program here. Mm-hmm. And what are some of the different types of self-injury? I mean, there's a lot of people that are watching on, they don't have a clue what we're even talking about. I mean, you use the word cutter or cutting here, so that refers to a cutter. And, you know, it hasn't been that long ago when I was learning for my first time what this is all about. But there are different types of self-injury type of behavior. What are some of them?
There's cutting yourself with anything that's sharp, just anything that you can penetrate your skin with. There's burning yourself, branding yourself, hitting yourself, banging your head. Anything that can cause you pain, that you're doing it yourself, any way of doing it, scratching your skin, pulling out your hair. Just anything like that, it falls under the category of self-injury.
Of self-injury. Now, is this a growing problem, or is this just a few people? Because I read somewhere that probably 38% of our teens could be involved in some type of self-injury behavior.
Absolutely. You know, it is growing, Lynn, because I think one of the biggest things we're seeing is the effect of the internet. You know, when, you know, self-injury's been around forever, you know, into the Bible even, you know, as a way of releasing, whether it be demons or whether it be pain or how to cope. That's been around a long time, but I've been in this field for, you know, 16 years, and I can tell you that until about 6 or 7 years ago, kids weren't on the internet like they are today. Now we have Twitter and Facebook and MySpace and YouTube and, you know, all the sites that they can go on. So if something new happens in Denmark, they know it in Loma Linda, and they know it instantly. And so kids, you know, that are struggling like Danielle can go on for two reasons. They can go on to learn how to cut more significantly and learn lots other ways to do it and to hide it, or they can go on to get help and to talk with other kids who have gone through that. So yes, it is a growing problem. It's quite a phenomenon actually right now. In the 80s, we saw eating disorders that kind of exploded like that. And so self-injury now.
Kind of a trend almost. Then.
Yeah, for some kids it can be a trend. For most of the kids we see like Danielle, it was truly to help her cope. Not unlike kids that smoke pot or do speed or somebody that smokes cigarettes or, you know, it has a calming effect on the body. It does release endorphins and opiates like Danielle said. And it provides instant relief, and the kids can really count on it, just like a person who goes out to have a cigarette after dinner.
It's kind of a calming type of a thing and relaxing and kind of a soothing type of a thing.
It can be, yes.
Okay. Well, when did some of these things start happening with you, Danielle?
It started when I was in middle school, and I think that was when I was getting more severe bipolar depression.
So you were, did you know you were diagnosed as bipolar at that point?
Back then, I hadn't been diagnosed.
Okay.
So, but now that I look back, that's when it all seemed to have started. And I just got really upset over everything. I was really emotional. I was really angry. I was really bitter towards everything and everyone because I was just in so much pain. And I just discovered it one day, heard about it, what it was, and wanted to try it to see if it actually worked.
Now you're talking about the cutting.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you hear about it?
I've heard about it through friends and through TV, songs. A lot of music bands talk about self-injury.
See, the music I listen to, I've never heard that.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about listening to a different type of music, but even in the music,
Yeah.
is it talked about in the music?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
So you kind of learned about it, and when we talk about cutting, are you talking about cutting with a razor blade or?
At first, I didn't have much to cut with. I ended up having a pencil sharpener, and I broke the razor out of the pencil sharpener to use, and that was all I had for a while. And if I didn't have a razor blade, I would use anything else sharp, like a safety pin.
Now, I would imagine, Susan, that when people first discover something like this, they think that somebody's trying to commit suicide.
Oh yes, the families, the teachers, the doctors and nurses sometimes in the emergency rooms, absolutely. It looks like a failed suicide attempt to most people.
And so the reaction
is very dramatic. And most of the kids actually get sent to an inpatient facility many times, and adults as well. However, what we've learned as we do more work with kids like Danielle that are going through this, we find that it's a coping strategy for them. It's not an exit strategy. So I do a lot of training in the community about this because we're trying to change the model of how we treat the kids. Because certainly none of us, and our kids especially, don't need to be in an inpatient facility if they aren't really wanting to die. Inpatient is for someone wanting to die, maybe trying to hurt someone else, or they're gravely disabled, probably in a psychotic state. So it's not a place for them if they don't need to be there.
But interpreting the behavior and looking at the physical results, you kind of think, well, they need to be protected from themselves.
Absolutely.
And put them in some kind of setting there where it's a controlled setting. And it sounds like it could be the worst thing for them.
It is contraindicated. The research is showing us for someone who needs a diagnosis, like Danielle did, and someone who might need medication in the beginning, it certainly is appropriate. But as they get into a program like ours, we try not to have them go inpatient, and we do a lot of contact with them and stay close in touch with them, and we teach the parents how to handle it when they cut. because, or burn or scratch or whatever they're doing. The main thing for the parents to do is to understand and validate them, understand they get it. The kids are, it's so important that we get it. You know, if the kids know you understand and it makes perfect sense why they would do something like that, not saying that it's healthy, but that it makes sense, that you want to feel better when you're so angry or so stressed out, then the kids will open up and they're willing to look at something else. But if they're just monitored all the time and a parent just follows them around and tries to check them all the time and do body checks and check their room, it's overwhelming for the kids. And so we need to give them a chance to learn new skills and, you know, calm that anxiety down, because it's very anxiety based.
Well, now it sounds like Danille, in addition, it sounds like she was bipolar, hadn't been diagnosed as bipolar, and still had some of these self-injury behaviors. Now, I'm assuming that not all bipolar are self-injury people, and not all self-injury people are bipolar.
Correct.
But you had the combination of both. Oh my! So this began back in the middle school, 6th, 7th grade. Are we talking about?
7th or 8th grade, about.
Okay. So, and when we're talking about how can you hide this from your family? Did your family know what was going on?
They didn't know up until a year ago that I self-injured. I kept it hidden in places. I did it in places where it couldn't be seen. Underneath my clothes,
under your clothes. Okay. So when did you realize that you had a problem?
When it got to the point where I was cutting so frequently and it was getting deeper and deeper, and the cuts were just getting worse and worse. And I was cutting about 5 or 6 times a day, every day. Every day. And so I knew that I was out of control and I needed help. So my friends sort of intervened and they wanted me to tell someone, either a therapist or my parents. And so I finally was able to tell my therapist, and he helped me tell my parents, and that was when the whole healing process started.
That's when it all came out, and so that's when the beginning of the healing really began to take place.
Yeah.
Now, you talked about you were having a therapist, so even you were involved with a therapist because of being bipolar, and even the therapist at this point didn't realize that you were. Is that correct?
Yeah, he didn't know. I hid it from everyone. I only told a few of my good friends, but I do believe the word spread around school because it's a small town and things do spread around.
Now, did you have some other friends who were involved in the same kind of behavior?
Yeah, I knew some people that were doing it, and unlike me, they didn't get any help for it at all. And some of their parents knew, and some parents didn't even do anything about it. I think they just didn't know how to deal with it, so it went unrecognized. It just.
So now, when did you first have contact with the BMC, Loma Linda BMC?
That was about maybe a year ago. About
a year ago.
I was put in inpatient.
Okay, and then this is when you learned about the program, or?
Yeah, I had been hospitalized in inpatient because of the cutting. And I went in there and I realized that it was a very good program, but it wasn't specifically designed for teenagers who cut. And so teenagers who cut went into inpatient and they just didn't get better because it couldn't help them like that. It was a good program, but it didn't target what needed to be addressed.
So early on you were in this one program, and then you apparently learned, because this is about the same time the program was being developed.
Yeah, I heard about the SHIELD program and we thought we should try it. And so we went there, and I was at a point where I didn't have any hope at all. I didn't think it was going to work. I thought I'd be cutting for the rest of my life. I didn't believe it would ever get better. But I went in and I figured we should give it a try, maybe it will help.
So now you started in the 7th grade, so we're talking about, what, 12 years old, or?
Yeah,
around 12 years old, and now you're 16, and so for 4 years you were involved in this destructive self-injury type of behavior.
Yes.
And I want to bring it out now, and we'll bring it out a little bit later on. And how you've been a survivor and a thriver for how long?
For about 8 months.
8 months. Well, I want to shake your hand right now to congratulate you for that, because that is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And it's because of the the program here. So let's talk a little bit more about what kind of help that you're getting. I mean, this isn't something you show up and they give you some medication for.
No.
I mean, it would be nice if you took a little pill and solved the problem. And you're the one that really kind of refined the program and developed it, and it's called the SHIELD program.
The SHIELD program for adolescent self-injury.
Okay.
Originally, it was called SHIELD for self-harm, intervention, education, learning, and development. And really,
so an acronym, really.
Yeah, kind of an acronym. So we kept that, and it's kind of like represents being a warrior, fighting for your life, and
the SHIELD.
The kids love it, yeah. And to develop the identity, your own identity in your SHIELD, you know, and to be able to defend your life and live your life fully. And Danille is a great example of that. She's very articulate. She had a very serious problem. And she's exactly the kind of kid that we want to treat. And we're so glad that she's speaking out, because this is something that can stay underground for a long time with kids. I mean, it's not unusual for somebody like Danille to have parents not know anything. And it's terrifying when they find out. I mean, they're really scared, because they really don't know if they even trust what we're telling them, that the kids really want to live and they don't want to die. Now, obviously, some kids get, you know, to be in a suicidal state. But most of the kids are just trying to feel better, and they want somebody to understand it. And they want new skills, like Danille wanted to do it, but she didn't know how to do it on her own. So the fact that she had wonderful parents that brought her and were absolutely dedicated and never missed treatment, because they come 2 nights a week, for Mondays from 4 to 7 and Wednesdays from 4 to 7, and then Danille and the parents are there both nights with them in a multifamily group. And then the kids also have a one-on-one appointment with a specific therapist every week, where they can really talk privately to the therapist. And the trust just builds. And you know, once the kids understand that we accept them, because with dialectical behavior therapy, we accept where they are right now, and we ask them to work harder and try harder and get better. And we form a partnership with them.
Between the patient and
our team.
Okay.
Yes, and parents involved as well. And the thing about Danille's family is they all learned the same thing at the same time. So the fear factor went down. You know, it doesn't mean that kids don't have what we call a relapse. They may be in the program, it's 4 months long. They may be in the program. First month is usually really cool, and they've met new friends. And
kind of exciting.
Yeah, and they, you know, identify with people. The second month gets a little bit harder, and then there's like the end of the second month, and what the kids have shared is like, wow, it's kind of like, I have to do this like forever. And then the third month, they really start to get it, and the fourth month, people don't want to leave. Because,
so it is a 4-month program.
Because it's a 4-month program. It
and
has
twice
a progression twice a week, and then they have a one-on-one.
Right.
And so it's the parents have their own support group 1 hour a week. The kids have, you know, 2 groups with a group of kids a week, and then they have a multifamily group twice a week. And they have a curriculum, and the whole family works together.
So Danille, how was this impacting your family? I mean, this when they realized what you were doing, it must have been horrifying to them.
Yes. It was really hard at first. We all had problems relating to each other and understanding how to fix the problem. And when we went to SHIELD, it just targeted the family life, and it gave parents what they needed to know how to help their children, and it gave the children the opportunity to be able to fix things with their parents, to be able to have a better relationship.
So it kind of opened up some communication.
Yes, definitely.
Between. So, I mean, prior to this, how are you and your parents getting along?
We were getting along well. I just wasn't very honest with them. I didn't tell them a lot about myself. They didn't really know what was going on. Like with the cutting, they didn't know what was going on, so they didn't know much about the private factors of my life. But now after SHIELD, I've gotten to the point where I'm so much closer to them, and I can tell them anything, and we're really comfortable with each other, and it's great. I have a really nice family.
Oh, well, I've met them, and you do have wonderful parents. Now, what do you want to do? You're in school now, and I know that we talked a little bit about when you get beyond school, what would you like to do when you finish your present schooling?
I'd like to go to a good college, a 4-year, and I'd like to get involved in anything that has to do with arts, basically, like directing or writing screenplays or even just writing poetry or short stories or anything. So I'm really interested in all that kind of stuff.
So out of all your classes, what's your favorite class?
English.
That's what I thought, because I'm going to share a poem here that you wrote, anticipating coming down here a couple of days ago, a poem that you wrote. But let's go back to the program, because there's a lot of people that are watching right now. And some of these families are involved in the same type of destructive behavior, and they're not able to identify. Tell us a little bit about when you were involved in the program here. And I don't want to put it the past tense, because there's a follow-up that goes on, but there's an intense program for, it must be 16 weeks or so, where you're meeting twice a week. And tell us a little bit about that. What was happening during that period of time?
It was really difficult at first because it's bringing out a lot of the emotions that you had been trying to get rid of and trying to hide for so long. But it's difficult, but then again, it's what's helping more than anything, because you're talking about the problems and you're fixing them. And so it's just completely improving yourself as a person and changing your life. It changed my life. It just completely turns everything around and just makes everything a lot better.
Well, I could imagine what you were doing the last few years and the things that you were struggling with. Did this have some kind of an impact on your schooling?
Yes, well, actually, by the time I started the program, it was almost during the summer, and so I was already out of school. But then this year, I went on a homeschooling program, Home and Hospital, where I have a teacher come to my house. And the reason I'm on that is mostly because I had been having some problems with balancing my medications, and I have problems with anxiety and depression. And so it's a lot easier for me to stay at home and do my work there. And I've actually been getting a lot better grades, and I'm much more comfortable with it. So the program was amazing. It didn't really conflict with anything. It is time consuming, but it's worth it in the end, because all that time you're getting something out of it.
Now, when you say you're getting better grades, what do you mean?
Well, last year, at the end of the year, I was having a lot of problems with the self-injury and depression and being hospitalized, and I ended up with D's and F's by the end of the year. And now this year I have almost all A's and I have B's.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That is wonderful. What an amazing story.
Thank you.
That, I mean, you're making a complete turnaround. So how is this impacting your parents?
They're very happy, and I'm proud of them too. They've learned a lot, and they can help me a lot. If I'm ever having a bad day, they always know what to say. Even better now after SHIELD, they've learned how to help me, and I've learned how to help them.
So you're kind of on a journey together,
Yeah.
aren't you? That's great. And a journey is not a destination. A journey is a process.
Yeah.
And you're on this exciting journey that, you know, I can see that God has been blessing you in a wonderful way. And I know that He's got wonderful plans for your future. Now, we're talking about going in during the intense part of the program 2 times a week with your parents. And are you having some group discussions then? And
Yes, it's group therapy. It's with, at first, the first, I think, hour and a half is with just the kids together. And
in a group.
In a group. And that's really good, because it's really comfortable, because the kids get along and they all relate to each other. And it's really fun. It's like being in school. You make friends, but you were learning at the same time, like in school. So everyone was able to talk and relate to each other on things, and we were all learning about the same stuff. And so it was really great to have other people there with you, going on the journey with you.
All right. Now, when they finish the 16 weeks, that means they've completed the 16 weeks. What then?
Well, what we really encourage them to do, and Danielle has been great about, is coming to an aftercare group that's provided free of charge. And the kids come at least, you know, some kids 2 months, some 3 months, some 4 months, and they don't necessarily have to come every week, but we have one of our master's level therapists there. It's not a therapy group, it's a support group, it's a check-in group, so that they can, you know, we can make sure that they're also seeing an outside therapist, and they're coming to hold each other accountable and just check in and looking towards what are other goals in their life, empowering them to, you know, grow their life just like Danielle's been doing. And we really encourage that, because we find through some of the research we've done, kids that have been like inpatient and then go to an outpatient program, if they don't have some kind of follow-up, because you can imagine parents taking their kids to group 6 hours a week, for 16 weeks is more therapy than most people have in their lifetime.
Correct.
Really, how many of us know anybody that ever did that? And then to drop off to nothing. So to have that safety net of the same program, because I know she got really close to the therapist, and to be able to check back in with one or two of those is important. Would you agree, Danielle?
Yeah, they're great therapists. They always knew what to say. They knew how to handle the group really professionally, but they knew how to have fun too, so they could make everyone happy.
I want to share this because I know as we were visiting and you're anticipating coming down and participating in the Journey of Hope, you wrote this poem entitled Hope. There is hope. You can fulfill your destiny and finally be what you had dreamed you could be. From even the darkest depths of strife, you can find the light and improve your life. You're never alone. We're all on your side. Things will be better. That can't be denied. So believe us when we say you're worth something, and one day you will proudly dance and sing. Sing a song of your joy and of your rebirth, and we gladly welcome you back to planet Earth. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
That is absolutely beautiful. You are artistic, you are articulate, and you are very, very gifted.
Thank you.
And you are a survivor and a thriver. Now, I could imagine that she can be used in some of your programs and be able to, not only, she'll be able to share and be able to model what is going on.
Yes.
I mean, it's going to be a real strength to the program. Danielle, I'm proud of you.
Thank
I
you.
know that Susan's proud of you. Your parents are proud of you. And those kids that have been with you the last several years and they see what a difference it's making in your life, you're a model for them. Again, for our listening audience, Danielle is a wonderful example of somebody that's been on a journey with ups and downs, but now she's moving ahead. She's a survivor and she's the thriver. And she's going to be a help to many of her friends in school, and she'll be a help to those down at the BMC. Again, there are people that are watching that some of your children or your grandchildren are involved in some of these self-destructive behaviors. Pay attention and listen and find professional help for them. You know, God's got a plan for each one of us. And Danielle, I know that God is going to take you and use you in a way that'll bring honor and glory to Him and help many, many people. And again, for our listening audience, I'm Lynn Martell with Journey of Hope. Until next week, God bless each and every one of you. Give God an opportunity with your life. He has a plan for you.